Hey, it's Rob. Welcome to Axel's Garage. Today we're in the shack at the local high school. It's the shack. It's where we serve food. It's a concession stand. We do it for all the high school kids. Today they got what, JV baseball and
JV lacrosse.
JV lacrosse. Girls JV lacrosse today. So while we're hanging out in the shack, Gary, he's the president of the New Hyde Park Dads Club, and that's the organization that runs the shack. It's like the PTA, but for the dads and the moms that want to hang out too. But you got to be like an extra cool level to do this. It's not like the PTA where they got a lot of rules and guidelines and associations. We just come down, we make some food, sell it to the kids, give all the money back to the school at the end of the year. Anyway.
And a lot of Axel's Kitchen comes out of here as well.
That's right. Axel's Kitchen recipes all come out of here. This is where we test and evaluate them. Anyway, Gary was driving his truck in the snow about a month ago, right? And
yeah.
You all of a sudden were giving it gas and it wasn't going, right?
Not going. Stability track light came on, engine shut down to half speed,
Yep.
and
he was in limp mode. He got the traction control, the stability track, all those warnings came on. Car goes into limp mode. It's and then we run the code. It's a P2135, which is a I got it right here. I got a picture of it. P2135. It is a throttle pedal position sensor switch AB voltage correlation. Sounds like a lot of BS. Common problem, not too hard to do. So once the game gets started and we're not so busy in here, we're going to go out back. We're going to fix Gary's truck. We're going to take you along and show you how to do it. Today we got a 2010 Chevy Silverado 1500 pickup truck. It's got the 4.8 liter engine in it. You could have a 5.3, same thing. Common code on these is a P2135, and that's going to be voltage correlation between your throttle and your sensor. So what happens is you go give it throttle, and let's just say for argument's sake it's supposed to, you're giving it 20% throttle, but the throttle body is only reading 10% throttle. And if you have an error in there that's beyond a certain parameter for a certain amount of time, it trips a check engine light and you'll get that P2135 check engine light. Problem with that check engine light is because it's seeing some kind of throttle mishap, it's going to put the vehicle in limp mode. What I mean by limp mode is it's going to give you a stability track error if you have that in your vehicle, and it's going to give you a traction control error if you have that in the vehicle. And when you get traction control errors or stability track errors, what will happen is you will go into limp mode and you'll have reduced power, and the vehicle is for the most part undrivable. So the easy temporary fix for that is if you have a code scanner, you plug it in, you reset your code, and that's what we did on this one. When it happened the first time, second time, third time, it was sporadic but over a long duration. Now that it's getting worse where it's happening all the time, if you don't have a code scanner and you need to get back on the road, you can disconnect your battery for a few minutes, plug it back in, and hopefully that will clear the code out and you'll be able to drive the vehicle until the code hits again, then you're back in limp mode. Anyway, these vehicles were known for having this problem, and the repair was to replace the entire throttle body, which includes a throttle position sensor on it. Well, thankfully, over the years, they have started selling just the throttle position sensor that you can mount a new one on your current throttle body. GM started selling it, so you can get an AC Delco part, and now the aftermarkets are selling them as well, so you can get a little less expensive one from the aftermarket on Amazon. I'll put a link to below to that throttle position sensor. So what we're going to do is we're going to change the throttle position sensor on this vehicle. The easiest way to do it is to take the whole throttle body off. Now, 95% of the time, just changing the sensor will fix the problem. If it doesn't, chances are you might need a whole throttle body assembly, which can run you a little bit more money. Also, to do this repair properly, according to GM's Technical Service Bulletin, what you're supposed to do is after you make the repair, you're supposed to go to a GM dealer. They're going to charge you anywhere from $65 to $100 to reflash your computer, and what that will do is that will delay the amount of time that you can have that inaccurate voltage mishap. So I think it's right now from the factory, it's set at like 2 seconds. So if it sees that misalignment in voltage for any more than 2 seconds, it trips the light, and I think they delay it to 5 seconds because they know that 2 seconds was just too quick and it was causing problems. Most people, when they get this repair done, don't have the computer flashed. They save that money, and they usually never have a problem for the next 100,000 miles or so. So that's what we're going to do today. We're going to pull the throttle body off. We're going to change that sensor on the bench or maybe on the tailgate of my truck, and then we'll get it back in, reset his codes, and he should be good. All right, so you can see in this 4.8 liter, everything's covered in plastic as usual, but you got this plastic shroud here that's got to come off, and then you got your air hose that goes into the throttle body right in front of here, and this has got to come off as well. So I'm going to go get some screwdrivers out, and we'll take the plastic off to expose the throttle body. All right, so after you get your air box off, just be careful. You have a plug that attaches the bottom, the upper radiator hose to the bottom of the air box, and you also have a vacuum line that goes into the side of the air box. After you get that off, you got your throttle body exposed. Here is your throttle position sensor. You can do it on the vehicle. It's just a lot easier to do it off the vehicle. So the first thing you're going to do is take this plug out of the throttle position sensor. So it's got a locking tab on it. And once you pull that locking tab back, you could depress the little button there to pull it off. And now here's your, I'm going to call it a naked throttle body. And you got 4 bolts here. They're probably 10 millimeter. And I'll pop them out, and this whole throttle body will come right off. When you do take the throttle body off, you want to realize there's a gasket behind it. You want to try not to tear that gasket, otherwise you will have to replace the gasket. Alright, so 10 millimeter. Got 2 nuts on top, 2 bolts on the bottom. Alright, so with your hardware off, just slide that throttle body right off. And here's your gasket. This gasket looks like it's in great shape. It's got an O-ring on it. We're just going to leave it like that. And just because this is something that I do, I'm going to take a rag and I'm going to put it over the opening in the throttle body so that nothing gets into my intake while I'm making the repair. Alright, so with our throttle body right here, you can see it's pretty clean on the intake side, but if you look in the back, you do have some fuel varnishing and some carbon buildup from fuel underneath. So it's a good starting point right here to, if you have a parts washer, you could wash it. They say do not submerge the whole thing in solvent. You don't want to get this part, which is the motor for the throttle linkage, submerged, but to clean this out. So we're just going to take some throttle body cleaner. We're going to spray out the back and get a rag in there and clean it out nice. Alright, so just with a little throttle body cleaner and a nylon brush and a rag, you get it pretty good. You don't have to go crazy in a parts washer. And now you got these clips here. These clips usually will go flying when you take them off. A small screwdriver. And pop them off. Now the key or the trick here is make sure you hold the plastic part of the throttle position sensor down when you're taking these clips off. Don't let everything fall apart, and there's a reason for that. When I take this off, there's going to be a big white gear inside. That gear inside cannot fall out and hit the ground. Alright, so you're going to pull this off, and you're going to put it right down, and you'll see this is the gear. This gear cannot fall off and hit the ground. It's a fragile gear. If it hits the ground, you got to replace the whole throttle body. Now, when you pull this off also, what you'll notice is you'll have, let me make sure I'm in frame, you're going to have the electrical sensors, which are here and here. Alright, so you got them here and here, and you can see one of the terminals remained on the throttle body. That's got to come off, like that. Alright, and it should be in the cover, and you see there's one missing from the cover. Right in there. Alright, so you got to make sure they're both off, because that should have been in the cover, like this. Having a little trouble with the sun here today. Alright, that should have been in there like that. Alright, now when you're going to go put your new one on, alright, your new one's going to pretty much go on the same way. The gasket, there is a gasket on this. It came off with the old one, so you want to make sure that gasket came off with the old one. And now your throttle body, you can prop up out of the way in a spot where that gear is not going to fall off. So we're going to take our new one. This is a Wells. Link to it below on Amazon. It's not a very expensive part. I think it was right around 30 bucks. And this is your throttle sensor. Alright, it's got new clips. So we can take these old clips, throw them out of the way. Take the new clips, get them ready. Alright. Now this sensor, okay, you want to visually verify that the gasket's on it, and it is. And you want to visually verify that these two female terminals for the electrical connection are present, and they are. If they're not, you got to get another one. Now right here you have a groove, and you could turn this in the clockwise direction because it's got to match up with the groove on the other one, okay, on your throttle body. Alright, but it's going to match up at wide open throttle. So you're going to rotate this to wide open throttle, okay, and you want your groove to match up, so it should be mirror image because you're going to put it over. Alright, and then while holding your throttle blade at wide open throttle, you're going to put this on, and it should sit down right onto it. Alright, and it looks like I'm down all the way now. Now you can let go of your throttle blade because it's going to move the gear in the groove, so there's no need to hold it on wide open throttle. And you're going to take your new clips and you're going to pop your new clips in. And they are a little bit of a pain in the ass to get on. Alright, clips aren't really easy to get in, but work your way around, get all your clips in, make sure your sensor is flush. It's all the way down seated, which it is, and you can reinstall. Alright, so back on the front of the engine, you take your rag off. Alright, you're going to put your throttle body on exactly the way it was. Bolts on top. Yeah, your 2 bolts on top. Or nuts, your 2 nuts on top, I should say. And you got your 2 bolts on the bottom. And like any other kind of sealable gasket surface, you want to seat them evenly so you don't mess your gasket up or tweak your part. You know, bend it. It's soft aluminum going into soft aluminum. Alright, so once you get them all seated good, you can tighten them in a cross pattern. Just get it hand tight like that. Now they're all hand tight. I'm just going to give it a little, if I had to guess, there's probably a torque spec. It's probably somewhere around 15 pounds. Alright, that should be good. Now, you got your wiring connection here. Alright, you're going to plug that in, and you're going to push your locking tab down, and you'll probably throw a light because your mass airflow sensor will be all screwed up, but you can start it up, let it cycle, and make sure it feels okay.
So that's a locking tab on top.
Huh?
That's a locking tab.
Pull that back a little, yeah, and then you can unlock it. Alright, so we got the airboxes back on. We went inside, turned the ignition on, cleared out all the codes, and started up, and now we're just letting it warm up, let it find its idle, go take it for a test drive, make sure no codes pop, which I don't think they will, and Gary will be good to go. Easy fix on 95% of these era Chevy trucks, Chevy GM trucks with the 4.8, 5.3 throttle position sensor. I think it's around 07 to like 13 is where they had the bad ones in. I think 12 or 13 or something like that. I think later than that you were okay. Earlier was a different design. Link in the description below where you can get the part on Amazon. Like I said, 95% of the time, this will do it. If you're in that 5%, you might need the whole throttle body assembly, which will cost you some more money. I'll put a link to that as well. And if you really want to do the repair the way GM says you're supposed to do it, on their technical service bulletin, and I'll put a link to that bulletin down below too. But if you want to read the bulletin, they have pictures and they show you step-by-step on how to get this done. The absolute proper way to do it is to go over to a GM dealer now and get your computer reflashed. Like I said, they can charge anywhere from $65 to $100 unless you got a guy. If you got a guy, you might as well get it done. If you don't have a guy, I would gamble, leave it the way it is, and see if it pops again, and then maybe you have to get that reflash. That's it today from Axel's Garage on finally a really nice April spring day. I just jinxed it. It's going to rain and probably snow next week. That's it today. Hope you enjoyed the episode. If you did, hit that thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and as always, thanks for watching.